is Andrew Hall. With me today is Kaytlin Bailey. Kaytlin Bailey was on my old show a number of times. That was the Naked Diner podcast. So let me give you a little bit of her bio from her site, KaytlinBailey.com. Kaytlin Bailey is a contrarian by nature and a provocateur by trade. As both a political activist and a comedian, it has been her job to throw rhetorical rocks at proverbial walls. She came out as a sex worker in 2013. She went on to write about her experiences for Vice and other publications. Her one-man show, Cuntagious, sold out performances in multiple NYC theater festivals. As the host of the popular podcast, The Oldest Profession, Kaytlin explores the history of sex workers. Each episode tells the tale of a different old pro from history. She recently joined the team at Decriminalize Sex Work as the Director of Communications to help to direct the growing support for sex workers' rights towards a national strategy to end the prohibition of prostitution in the United States. Though I imagine I have to amend that since I believe I read that you are no longer with the organization.
Today is my last day there, and instead of being there, I'm doing your show. So that's where we're at.
So, Kaytlin, what's the difference between decriminalizing sex work and making it legal and regulating it? Parse that out, because a lot of people would go, why are we decriminalizing it? Shouldn't we just make it legal?
Regulate it. Tax it.
And unions and tax it.
Protect the workers from the violence with the laws.
That does seem... Yeah. So tell me what's wrong. What is fallacious with that argument?
Sure. So I think I understand how people get there, right? There are a lot of really, really smart labor rights activists that think of sex work as a labor issue, and they come at it through a framework of like regulations and unions and organizing, because sex work is work, right? Mm-hmm. And my counter argument to that is it is also sex. And the problem with creating a regulatory structure around sex work is that you immediately create a two-tiered system of people that are participating in that regulatory structure and people who are not. And you end up sort of concentrating and making worse and pushing further underground a huge segment of the black market that continues to exist, because not everyone can or is able to get a license, register with the local sheriff, get hired by an organization that has to go through some sort of licensing structure. And the best example of this is Nevada, right? So Nevada is the only state in the union with legal regulated prostitution. And it has the highest arrest rate per capita for prostitution of any other state, right?
Explain that to me.
I'm going to walk you through it.
Please
do. Less than 5% of like all of the commercial sex that is happening in Nevada is happening in the legal brothels. Because in order to work as a legal licensed prostitute in Nevada, you have to register with the sheriff, right? Which is a subpoenable thing about you forever. So you can imagine how this plays out in like child custody cases, for example, or why somebody wouldn't want to be registered as a legal prostitute in Nevada, even though it's legal, right? So then you have to get hired by a brothel, which are overwhelmingly owned by men, because not only are the licenses so expensive, but you also have to be a member of like the Nevada Good Old Boys Club to get one of them, because they're like a very limited commodity. They only allow like 7, or I don't know what the numbers are, but like you can't just put up a brothel anywhere. You have to get mandatory STD tests that you pay for and also become public information, so you don't enjoy the same rights to privacy as other citizens. And you have to adhere to this network of like confusing and conflicting state, local, and like house rules. Like, for example, if you are working as a legal, registered, licensed prostitute in a brothel in Nevada, you can't leave that brothel and then go get a drink at a bar in town. You are now breaking the law.
Say that again, please, because I don't think I wrapped my mind around that.
So you're working as a legal licensed prostitute in Nevada, right? You got a 12-hour shift. When a customer walks in, you show up to the lineup. You do everything the manager says, just like if you work at a fucking restaurant or whatever. You like wear the uniform, right? You sleep there. 12-hour, your shift is over. You have a break. You cannot leave that brothel and then go to a bar in the like next town over and have a drink. That is illegal for you to do as a licensed prostitute in Nevada.
That's
because
madness.
they don't want you turning tricks in that bar.
Right.
So legalizing, regulating, right, is just a way to create this whorephobic web, right?
Whorephobic. I like that.
Thank you.
I
I didn't
like that
coin
a
it.
lot. I
But
like that a
like
lot.
it's all about protecting society from the prostitute, this like dehumanized, infectious, like, you know, we hold on to a lot of false beliefs around sex workers. And so that's the danger of regulation. And I think it's naive to believe that we can ask every sex worker in the country to like put themselves on a list, right? So that we can like, you know, regulate it and then not have something bad happen. Like, we burned a lot of witches, is just what I'm saying.
Right. There,
Like, yeah.
I would be very cautious and skeptical, I guess is a
Exactly.
nice way of saying. I'd be very skeptical about signing up for anything like
Hmm.
those poor DACA people,
So
right?
I think a better way to think about it is sex work is first and foremost sex, right? You are
Yeah.
mostly talking about intimate activity between two consenting adults. And that should not be a crime whether money is exchanged or not. So I think that like sex work is actually more appropriate to sort of fit under the LGBT umbrella of legal changes, right? Like when we stopped arresting people for being gay, we didn't make, if you want to like do butt stuff with your buddy, you don't have to like fill out a form or like go talk to a bureaucrat or like sign anything. You're just not doing something you can be arrested for unless, you know, that person raises their hand and says, I didn't want to do that, or you hurt me, or like that was a violation. But like if you two are cool, then it's cool.